Southold Peconic Civic, for our members. We're having a communications committee meeting on the 11th at 4 p.m. All members are welcome. And a government meeting is Thursday, the 25th at 7 p.m. Next Saturday, we will sponsor a garden tour with Rewild on our North Fork, and you can get information on that from Ralph and Nancy. Ralph's right outside. You can hear his deep voice. I think he left a flyer on the front table. Tomorrow's North Fork foodie tour, which is really fun. That's not us, but that's fun. On the 21st, which is a Sunday at 2 p.m., the Southold Library is having a program called Simply Civics, and a couple of us from the Civic are joining them, and we're gonna play around with the town website, show you how to navigate it, how to find information. Sometimes it can be hard to use, so we'll help you out with that. And that's at 2. And our Civic, along with the other North Fork Civics, are hosting candidate forums before the election. So we have tentative dates so far in the middle to end of October, and we will, of course, let everybody know what those dates, when they're firmed up. But right now, it may be the 14th and the 21st. There's going to be 2 of them with the same format, and all our members get to submit questions. We'll be sending out an email about that. So if you have questions for town trustees, town board members, any of the town positions, and then also the county legislature, their candidates are going to be involved in it too. And this Tuesday, on the 9th, during the town board work session, they're going to present the findings of the wireless survey poll that hopefully a lot of you guys took, and present kind of what a draft of how they're going to move forward. So that's at 1:30, and then also of interest, maybe of interest, at 12:15 they're going to be discussing the draft code of a new short-term rental code. And at 2:45, the Transportation Commission is going to be talking about the county helping us out with raising the road, the county road 48, to mitigate sea level rise. And we need to do a really quick little bit of business with our members about our bylaws that we emailed you all. It'll just take a minute, and Katie's going to handle that.
All right, thank you. I know you guys are excited about bylaws. Let's not pretend like we're not here for the bylaws, okay? But actually, first of all, can you raise your hand if you're a member of our Civic, of the Southold Peconic Civic? All right, so everybody whose hand is in the air right now, you're the ones who are going to vote on the bylaws in a second. Everybody else, just enjoy learning about bylaws for a moment. So we have bylaws in place. They've been in place since we were founded, but we've decided, the board decided, that we should just update them a little bit. And so some of the changes that were made, instead of having the amount of membership dues set in the bylaws, we've said we're taking them out of the bylaws, and the board will vote on it every year. All right? And we've said that that directors, we like having 7 directors, but if more people want to join, then we're happy to have up to 9 directors. So we're just expanding it, saying if there are more people who want to join, we're happy to have more people join as a director. We've also said that we're not going to have, that we're eliminating the extended hours for board elections. We used to say it would be like over the course of 2 days. No, we're just going to have it on Monday. If you can make it, good for you. If you can't, wait for the next turn. And we've also said instead of like for quorum, instead of it needing to be 60% of the people present, we've said it's just a majority, so it could be 51%. So we're just making sort of those kinds of changes to make them more in line with other boards' bylaws. Are there any questions about that? About cleaning up our bylaws? No, I know it's pretty exciting. Okay, so all of those in favor of making the changes to the Southold Peconic bylaws that were circulated in writing and that I just given a quick overview of, raise your hand if you're in favor. Awesome. All right, perfect. Okay, arms down. And now all of those opposed. All of those abstaining. All of those who are still awake after this discussion. All right, thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Katie. Margaret, do you want to come introduce?
That's why I'm looking, standing in the corner. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Margaret Steinmuller, an active member of the Southold Peconic Civic Association, and I'm going to introduce our speaker. We're very pleased to have Rachel Friedman from the Peconic Estuary Partnership with us this morning. Rachel is the Water Quality Outreach Specialist. I tried to give her a promotion to director earlier for the Peconic Estuary Partnership. She leads outreach education efforts about water quality challenges with particular emphasis on reducing nitrogen pollution from outdated septic systems and fertilizer. Of course, outdated septic systems and how you can replace yours is the topic of today's talk. She's very passionate about giving the community information that empowers them to make meaningful change in nitrogen emissions to our environment and to our local waters. She is a 2021 graduate of SUNY Oneonta with a degree in environmental sustainability, and she is currently pursuing a master's degree from the University of Wisconsin Sustainable Management, but Green Bay, what I was looking for. The Green Bay campus, I assume remotely.
Yes.
So, so please welcome me. If you like, I can advance the slides if you want to take the stage.
Hi everybody. So wonderful to introduce me. I am Rachel Friedman, the Water Quality Outreach Specialist with the Peconic Estuary Partnership. And I want to thank you all for having me here and joining me here today. Really appreciate it. So I'm going to actually walk you through why and how you should upgrade your septic system to an innovative, alternative, on-site wastewater treatment system, which we will be referring to as IA and OWTS, and how you can utilize state and county grants to get financial assistance upgrading your outdated technology to the cleaner and more responsible IA OWTS technologies. So, not just yet. These systems are the future of wastewater management and homeownership on Long Island, and upgrading is one of the most impactful actions you could take to protect our environment, our water quality, your health, your home. And people are always asking me what they can do as an individual to make a difference. And I'm really happy to be able to tell you guys that as homeowners, you have a really powerful opportunity to actually help shape Long Island's future. So just to start us off, just a little bit about who we are at the Peconic Estuary Partnership. So we are one of 28 EPA designated national estuaries of significance under Section 320 of the Clean Water Act. Another estuary on Long Island that is a part of the National Estuary Program is the Long Island Sound Partnership. At the Peconic Estuary Partnership, we have the amazing privilege to focus our work on protecting and restoring Peconic Bays and the surrounding watershed. We are the connection between policy, science, and community. We utilize research and education and collaboration to protect the beauty and the health of this beautiful estuary where we all live, work, and play. And I also just want to point out that I will be having QR codes throughout the presentation, and just a little suggestion, a little tip if you want to utilize the QR codes, to just email yourself the link that it brings you to so you don't lose it and you can easily find it later. So why is it so important to upgrade your septic system to an IA OWTS? Traditional septic systems don't actually treat your wastewater. Instead, it releases that polluted water directly into the ground, contaminating our groundwater, working its way to our sole source aquifer, where we all get our drinking water from, and eventually it works all the way to our nearby surface waters, which creates water that's so polluted it's no longer safe to swim and recreate in, and it damages our ecosystem and harms wildlife. Wastewater contains high levels of nitrogen, which is a leading cause of water pollution on Long Island. So basically, to break that down, algae love to eat nutrients like nitrogen, and so when levels of nitrogen and other nutrients are too high, it causes something called harmful algal blooms, which also is referred to as HABs. And these blooms cause major changes in water chemistry, including high pH, changes to dissolved oxygen levels, and lack of oxygen created by the decomposing algae can result in fish kills and generally harms all types of aquatic life and our important aquatic ecosystems like eelgrass and shellfish beds. And harmful algal blooms also produce toxins that are linked to adverse health effects in humans and wildlife and domestic pets. Additionally, when septic systems fail and potentially have a catastrophic failure, it can lead to sewage backing up into your house, foul odors, and damage that can be devastating and extremely expensive to repair. So upgrading now means avoiding future headaches, protecting our health, the environment, and wildlife. And while we can't fully predict the future, we do know that grant funding is available now, and so the sooner you apply for grant funding and upgrade your septic system, the sooner you can have peace of mind. Next slide. So this map shows you examples of harmful algal blooms had on Long Island, particularly in areas that you may be concerned with. So for example, in Jockey Creek and in Orient Harbor, paralytic shellfish poisoning, also known as red tide, is present, making consuming shellfish in that area lethal to humans. Additionally, in Halleck Bay, diuretic shellfish poisoning is found, which causes vomiting, diarrhea, fever, and more symptoms after consuming shellfish in that area. And then also in Orient Harbor, hypoxia, which is the lack of oxygen, is found, which causes fish kills. Slide. And so here I have a graph of the nitrogen sources and a map of ecological sensitivity. So if we turn our attention to the upper right corner over there, we can see that particularly in Quarry Creek, wastewater is the #1 source of nitrogen pollution. And then if we look at the map, we can see that the groundwater travel time, which basically just means how long it takes for the water that soaks into the ground to enter the groundwater, the aquifer, surface waters. And so everything in red here is 0 to 2 years, which is extremely fast and really emphasizes the need for people in that area to upgrade. And then in orange, we have 2 to 10, and in yellow, we have 10 to 25. Next slide. Wow. And so in Richmond Creek, this is actually one of the rare places that are slightly different, where fertilizer use is actually the #1 source of nitrogen pollution in this area, followed by wastewater. And so another thing that I often do outreach on is to not use fertilizers and to encourage your neighbors to not use fertilizers either. As you can see, it is the #1 source of nitrogen pollution in this area, and then again followed by wastewater, and emphasized again by the short groundwater travel times, 0 to 2 years in all of that area in red, and then 2 to 10 in all of that area in orange. Then Southold Bay, this again has the #1 source being wastewater, and I see this in almost every single one of these maps. It is always wastewater, except for the rare occasion where it's fertilizers. And so again, you can see the really short groundwater travel times and the importance of upgrading. So let's talk about the good news a little bit, because you guys have the amazing opportunity to be a part of the solution to all the problems I just laid out in the previous slides. And don't worry, you're not sitting alone. New York State and Suffolk County are here to support you. But we'll get back to that first. Let's break down how by upgrading, you guys become the hero of this story. So OWTS technologies are the smarter and more advanced and cleaner way of dealing with something that's pretty gross that nobody likes to think or talk about, wastewater. But to put it simply, drinking and swimming in that contaminated wastewater, everything you're flushing down the toilet, is even grosser. So that's why it's important that we face these issues head on and we upgrade to technologies that help clean your wastewater before it's polluting the things that we most want clean, the water we drink and swim in. So these new and improved systems actually remove 70% of nitrogen, the cause of all the issues we just talked about, and keeping that water safe is truly an investment in your home, your health, your community, and your environment, making your future brighter. And you'll be getting ahead of potential catastrophic failures and increasing your property value. Additionally, you will be the leader in the field, and you'll be setting an example to your friends and your neighbors that by upgrading to these more modern and efficient systems, you are creating a domino effect, and hopefully it will lead to everybody on Long Island getting upgraded. So you can be a part of creating a healthier, cleaner Long Island by making this upgrade to your home that will not only give you peace of mind that you're avoiding a catastrophic failure, but will make you feel pride that you were part of something bigger than yourself and that you're making a difference. So now I'll get into some of the more specific details, like the different types of IIoT technologies. And so there are several types of systems approved by Suffolk County. The four most popular brands are the Hydro Action, the Fuji Clean, the Septitech Star, the Oreco Advantex AX20. But there are many more available for pilot and experimental use. So all these systems are tested and the water quality outputs are monitored by the county, and that ensures that the performance of these systems meets certain criteria and standards. Next slide. But you will be working with your installer and engineer to choose the systems best for your property, so you really don't have to worry too much about it. Next slide. So now let's discuss how you can get financial assistance and support to upgrade. New York State and Suffolk County both offer grant funding you can apply for with a single application to help make upgrading more affordable and to help you avoid paying for the system out of your own pocket when you're just trying to do something to help the environment and the community. So in some cases, when utilizing these programs, you can even get the entirety of your system covered. Furthermore, there are people working for Suffolk County that are more than happy to take your calls and respond to your emails to help you with every step of the process and to make it as simple as possible for you. Plus, I'm here today and I'm always available by email to break it all down for you so you can hopefully leave here today feeling confident in your ability to take on this project and ready to take action as soon as today. Oh, looks like we went to the next slide, that's okay. So, how much money can you get towards upgrading from these grants? Well, the Suffolk County Septic Improvement Program, also called Sept, offers a $15,000 base grant with an additional $5,000 for low and middle income households. Then the New York State Septic System Replacement Program, SSRP, offers $10,000. So already, with just one application, you could be eligible for $25,000 or $30,000 for low and middle income households. Systems usually cost around $20,000 to $30,000, which means at this point, the majority of the cost is already covered. But if you do still need additional assistance, there is a low interest loan available. Next slide. So now let's talk about eligibility. First thing to remember, particularly for the county grant, is that you must apply before you install. You will need to provide certain documents, so I highly recommend gathering all the necessary documents before you start any other step in this process. The first thing you're going to need is your certificate of occupancy, and if for some reason you don't have one and can't find yours, you can request a copy from your town's clerk's office, and you also need your tax bill. If your system is already in catastrophic failure, you will be given prioritization and you will get your grant sooner, but you need to submit proof, which can be as simple as photos of the failure or a letter from your engineer. And if you are applying for additional funding for low and middle income households, you will need to provide proof of eligibility by submitting your tax return. If your property is owned by a trust, LLC, or corporation, there will be additional documentation required. if your property is in foreclosure or as tax liens, unfortunately you are not considered eligible for the grant. Additionally, the vendor you choose for your system must be on the approved county list, which you can find on the county Sept website. And just to make sure you understand, the county grant will be paid directly to the vendor, which helps you avoid any of those out-of-pocket costs for the system. And if for some reason you decide you only want to apply for the state grant and not the county grant, you actually don't have to worry about applying before you install. You can apply after you install, and you don't have to worry about the system being on the county's approved list. But that's only for if you're applying for the state funding and not the county funding. And then when it comes to prioritization and who gets their grant the fastest, there are two main factors. So one is if you are in catastrophic failure, you automatically get a score of 100 and you're getting top prioritization, and you can get accepted and approval within only a few days. If your system is failing but not in catastrophic failure, you'll be given a score of 90 and you'll be next to be approved. And then after that, priority is assigned on groundwater travel times, which kind of like I said earlier, just means how long your wastewater takes to travel to our aquifer or surface waters. Next slide. So now let's go over what you should expect from this process. Firstly, cost. As I mentioned briefly earlier in the presentation, the average cost of a system has a give or take range of $20,000 to $30,000. So it is very possible that the grant could cover the entirety of the system itself. However, you should expect additional costs that vary from location to location, like design, engineering, or restoration. Additionally, there will be yearly maintenance costs at around $300 to $600 a year. However, the grant does cover 3 years of maintenance, and at the Peconic Estuary Partnership, we are working with the county to provide an additional 1 to 4 years of maintenance when you apply to an additional grant, and helping you cover approximately 7 total years of maintenance. So other than cost, you should expect yard disturbance, as they will be digging a big hole in your property to put the system in. But I encourage people to apply for the Peconic Estuary Partnership's Homeowner Rewards Program, where you can get $500 reimbursed for you for planting native plants. So you can utilize these funds to help replant your yard with native plants, which will provide an even further benefit to the environment. There will also be exposed covers for ease of maintenance, but people come up with many creative ways to hide the covers or make them look nicer with stones here, or you may have seen in other pictures with flower beds. Lastly, there will be control panels on the side of your house with any of your other home utility systems.
Can I ask about that? Are they replacing what you have already? Like, are they picking up and taking away what's there, and then they're putting this in?
Yes. Yes. Sometimes it needs to be in a different location though. Depends on your property, how close you are to the water, how close you are to maybe a well, how your plumbing works. So that's something you work with your engineer to figure out.
If they are taking away, or
Yeah, they're not going to leave it there.
Yeah.
So now I'm just going to break down the entire process step by step. So first, before you even apply, you should confirm eligibility. So in addition to what I mentioned earlier, you cannot be in a proposed sewer district or be considered new construction. New construction is required to install one of these IOWTS technologies, but they are not able to get a grant. So what this means is if you do not already have a septic tank or cesspool and you are putting in a system there's never been a system there before, that is considered new construction. You have to already have a system that you are replacing to be eligible for the grant. So next, utilizing the approved list from the county, you will choose a vendor and get a quote. So you should then find a licensed design professional, an engineer that is familiar with the grant process, and you want to do this first because they're going to help you throughout every step of this process. And it's recommended that before you apply, you have the engineer visit your property to figure out layout and feasibility to avoid delays down the line. I also suggest that you get ahead and choose your maintenance provider because you'll need one before you can get the grant, but oftentimes this can simply just be your installer. And as I mentioned earlier, you want to gather all the required documents before applying to avoid any issues. So that's your most recent town tax bill, applicable proof of system failure. If low middle income, you need the first 2 pages of your signed federal tax return from 110, and you need to adapt your social security number for privacy, your reported property deed, exact valid certificate of occupancy, and if you're in a trust, LLC, or corporation, you're going to need more documents, and they're going to ask you for these after you apply, but again, I suggest you just have them all ready. So if you're in a trust, you need your trust agreement, your signed statement, same documents are current. If you're in an LLC, you're going to need your operating agreement, articles of organization, and statements from members. And if you're in a corporation, you're going to need bylaws, articles of incorporation, and a signed statement. So there are also more in-depth step-by-step instructions on the County Civic website under user guide, which you're welcome to scan the QR code and get the link right there. And like I said, I suggest you email it to yourself. Next slide. So once you submit the application, you can simply just wait for your application to be reviewed, approved, and assigned prioritization. And once they're approved, you will receive an email with your grant award package for you to e-sign, which you have to do within 30 days of when you received it. So the next couple steps are mostly taken by your engineer and installer, but I wanted to go over them a bit so you can have a full understanding of the process. So your engineer will finalize the design and submit a permit to construct to Suffolk County Office of Wastewater Management and have obtained any other permits if needed. Once the engineering design is approved, your installer will submit a price quote. You will then receive your grant eligibility memo. If the cost for some reason exceeds the grant, now you can choose to apply for a low interest loan if you want to do that. But then we get to the exciting part, system installation. The county inspector will come visit your site and oversee the installation. And once installed, the engineer will submit a final as-built plan. Then the installer submits final certificate forms. Then you must submit an operation and maintenance agreement and system registration form from your chosen maintenance provider. Once that is all complete, your installer will submit their invoice directly to the county, who will pay them directly. If there are any remaining costs not covered by the state and county grant programs, you will be responsible for paying those. And you guys are not completely responsible for changing water quality on Long Island. It is not all on the homeowner. At the Peconic Estuary Partnership, we take a variety of initiatives to help water quality, and while I can't go over every single one of them now, I will just go over a few of them. So one thing we do is water quality monitoring and reporting regularly throughout the Peconics to track levels of nitrogen, dissolved oxygen, and pathogens to help us make more informed decisions and bring awareness of the dangers of water quality contaminants to the community. We also have our homeowners rewards program, which I discussed a little bit before, where we reimburse homeowners for planting natives, installing a rain barrel, or other sustainable landscaping initiatives. And native plants help improve water quality by filtering pollution and helping to avoid use of fertilizers. And rain barrels help prevent stormwater runoff, which is also another major source of water pollution on Long Island. And then in Goose Creek, we have our subcatchment discharge elimination. And so basically what we're doing there is we are helping fund the town of Southold to completely remove and eliminate stormwater outfalls that discharge directly into the creek. So some FAQs. How are funds from the sales tax increase being utilized for the septic grants? So the Water Quality Restoration Fund, it's a 30-year fund, and we're expecting it to begin to be utilized in 2026. So funds are split 50-50 between constructing sewers and further grants for the IAOWTS. And they are cumulative, so they will carry over to the following year if not utilized. How often a grant application is denied? They're very rarely denied unless you were in a foreclosure or a tax liens. But as soon as you fix those issues, you can go ahead with your application. So they're very rarely denied. What improvements to the grant application process have been made? So they have the electronic contracts with an e-sign. This really helps make things go way quicker, helps them process the application faster, and they also had combined the county and the state grant, like I discussed earlier, so you just have one single application. There is less documentation they're asking for now. And it's not listed here, but they're also in the process of hiring more people to go through the grants and get those approved quicker, and additional streamlining efforts are becoming underway. So are there any income limits? So there are no income limits. It does not matter how much money you make, you are still available for the grant. The only thing having to do with income is you can get additional funding if you are considered low middle income. Yes?
If you look at the last line, about a third of the people that it's been installed receive grants.
Yes.
Have you eliminated the people who were building new construction?
New
Is
construction.
that last number?
So yeah, so 6,500 installations. So 360,000 have been installed, and so that might include the new construction who don't get a grant. That might include anyone who's putting one in. And so 6,500 have been installed with a county grant, and
No, it's 2,600, that's the grant. 2,600 out of 6,500 had gotten grant funding.
So it might be that the difference between those two were.
oh, I'm sorry, I
Other
missed up
new
my number.
construction.
360,000 do not have wastewater treatment systems. Sorry, I got a little mixed up. So sorry, yeah, so 6,500 have been installed, which could include the new construction or anyone else who's putting it in without a grant, and the 2,600 have it with the grant funding. So yeah, so that was my last one, thank you. So then, next slide, so that's really it. Now you can sit back and relax and enjoy the peace of mind of knowing you avoided the catastrophic failure, and feel pride in knowing you made a huge difference for your community, environment, and your health. And now I'm happy to take any questions, and if you think of any later, you could always email me. Yes?
Hi Rachel, thank you so much for being here. You did a great job, and thanks for all your work protecting our environment. My question is, based on your experience, what is the approximate cost of the engineering? Like the pre-prep work and that kind of thing?
I actually don't, that's actually a really great question. I don't have that off the top of my head. I'm not sure if it's in my notes here, but if you want to email me about that, that's something I can find out and get back to you about.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
You have an overview of the system, the new system.
What do you mean by?
Well, I mean, what it looks like, I mean, we'll go along with it, the whole cesspool system looks like with leach fields, so what is the new system?
Yeah, if you want to go back a few slides, I have some examples I went through. So here are some of the ones, they all kind of look different. Go back to the other side, these are the most popular ones. So this is kind of what it would look like under the ground. And then on top you have those control panels.
Be nice to see what it looked like in a yard, for example.
There's a slide, a couple forward.
That's it.
Okay, so where would this system,
It depends on your yard where it would be.
okay, is there any setbacks or,
Yeah.
Yes.
So relative to like surface water, for example.
Yeah, so
water
how close you are
properties.
to the surface waters, if you're right on the water, if you're close to a well, if you're close to your neighbor's well, if, depending on your piping and things like that, your property line, all of those are going to come into play when it comes to where it's going to be placed on your yard, and which system you get as well. Yes?
Yeah, if I applied today, when would the whole process be finished with the installation and everything?
So it depends on your prioritization.
No, I have, my system works.
So yeah, depending on your groundwater travel time as well, but it could be a few months, but so if you have to make an appointment with your engineer, come to your home, so it depends how quickly they get there. Once you apply, it takes approximately 6 weeks for you to get approval. I have heard much longer, but again, they're trying to streamline things. And then after you get initial approval, then you gotta get your engineer and your installer to come and do more things. So there's a lot of moving parts that it depends on, so you can't really give an exact date of how long it will take from start to finish. Yes?
Do you find that people are needing to get several estimates from different vendors? Or
It's not a bad idea. All of the prices are laid out on the county website pretty clearly. It will say this vendor, this price, basically. And so it will tell you almost exactly, so it really depends on which system you want, which vendor you want, which your engineer can also help you make the decision on.
Is that the county Department of Health Services website?
No, it's the
Reclaim
county
Our
septic
Water.
improvement program.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Website, yeah. So the SIP website, which I had a QR code to, or you can just search it up. You know me, I can send you a link.
We can get your slides and put them on our website.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, and then what we'll do too is we'll put a link to that website, that the county website.
Wonderful, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a couple questions. You mentioned sewers. Are sewers in the Southold Town Plan or?
No.
Not in Southold.
So
No, you
nothing's
guys don't
ever
have to
gonna
worry.
happen with that, like you wouldn't get this and then 2 years later they're gonna come up with a sewer.
It's not in the plans right now for Southold, so we would know 2 years in advance.
And then my second question is, can you get a system, I know it's based on the number of bedrooms in your house, can you get a system that's upgraded, like you have a 3-bedroom house, can you get a system for a 4-bedroom house?
Yeah, it's usually more of a
Proactive for
range. It's not exact 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom. It's usually more of a range anyway, I believe. So yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
And then do you have a list of engineers? You give a list of installers, do you have any list of engineers?
It should be on the county website as well. If not, that's something you can email me and I can find for you. I know it's not as straightforward as the vendors where it's like, these are all the approved vendors. It's kind of more like sometimes people will ask their friends or neighbors if they've installed, who did you use, and kind of more of a word of mouth, but I do believe that there should be recommendations available.
Many of the vendors recommend.
We'll be working with an engineer a lot, so they'll probably have someone to recommend as well.
What kind of an engineer is qualified to do this?
Sorry?
What kind of an engineer is qualified to do this?
I was going to see who was talking. What kind of engineer is qualified? So just someone who is familiar with the county grant process and who has done it before. I don't know if there's a specific type of engineer.
Is it environmental engineering or no, or it's just?
I
Could be
think
anyone.
that's a really great question as well. I'm not sure
A
that
civil engineer can do this, and aeronautical
I
engineer.
think you
No,
do.
you have to have
You have to
License,
stamp,
you have to be able to, yeah.
it has to have a field engineer who's certified to sign and stamp drawings.
You showed one of the maps had priority 1 and priority 2. What's the difference in those areas?
So as far as who gets those priorities?
I guess so, which is more
Yeah,
urgent.
so if you are considered a catastrophic failure, that's
Right.
or you mean as far as the
It's forward.
Yeah, because on the
That's-
maps.
Forward.
no,
It was a
Forward.
priority location.
Forward.
I think, forward.
Yeah, that's.
no, a little bit more.
Further forward.
Yeah, towards
After this.
Yeah.
no, the other way, like towards
There was
the
one.
end of the
Yeah, there was.
presentation.
There's one that
Can you
had
keep
both
going?
priorities.
Yes.
Yeah, you got 100% for cash.
Yeah, it's a bottom line. Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Yes.
That's.
Yeah, so this is based off of groundwater travel time, like I was talking before. Once you get rid of, if you were in catastrophic failure or just in general failure, then it's based off of your groundwater travel time. So it was, you can also see those specific areas in the ecological sensitivity map, the groundwater travel time, but this is like their priority areas for upgrading. And so if you want, if you want to email me, I can send you a clearer version of this map. It might also be in the county civic website. But yeah, so you can see priority 1 for groundwater or priority 1 for surface waters, and those are both taken into account. And so everything in red is groundwater priority 1, and that's the quickest groundwater travel time to the aquifer or your well or whatever, and then in like the pink purpley area, that's how the 0 to 2 years to get to the surface waters. Yes.
So just to be clear, you're starting off by talking to an engineer and paying him to develop the right plan for your property.
Yes.
So that's one expense. Then you go and you check the list of all the different installers, and maybe you get multiple bids because you've now defined the scope of work with your engineer, and then you pick your installer. So is the engineering expense covered by the grant money as well?
No.
Okay, now, some of these installers are gonna say they have their own engineers, and of course, they're gonna probably kind of guide you towards what they like to install, perhaps, or whatever. So, I mean, how much money are we laying out for engineering? That stuff doesn't come free. And why wouldn't it be part of this expense?
So certain towns will have an extra rebate program to help cover those expenses. Unfortunately, Southold is not one of those towns. So it could maybe be one day expand, but for now, it's, instead of having to pay for the entirety of the project, the whole system and the engineering costs and everything else, they're at least trying to cover the system itself.
And do you think that most of the plans for like our general neighborhood, I mean, I think we're all homeowners here that have like not an extraordinarily large system of cesspools, just like an average system of cesspools. Do you think that this money would definitely cover the equipment component? You mentioned it in the
system
presentation.
itself, it shouldn't. Additionally, while we don't have the exact numbers right now, but both grants are increasing by a significant number, so it should cover the majority or the entirety of the actual system itself, as well as right now 3 years of maintenance, and moving forward once we finish all the paperwork and get everything set up, an additional 1 to 4 years of maintenance.
The maintenance is another issue because I think as cesspool owners, we don't maintain until we think there's a problem. And then, but here, that's like another, annual expense that we probably try to avoid and not do it, and then who knows what will happen with the system if we don't do it. But, yeah, I'm just trying to get a better feeling for, what's gonna happen, at our home down the road. Also, can they put a new system in directly over the old cesspools? No, you have to find a new spot.
Well, they can take it out and possibly put it in the same area, depending on the different factors.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just gonna say, if I could jump in, I was looking at the annual maintenance costs, and I was trying to remember what Mr. Morris charged me the last time I got my septic system cleaned out. I think his bill was on the order of $1,200.
Wow.
Maybe you remember.
How many years?
And that was probably 2.5 to 3 years.
Oh,
It's recommended
You
that
are
you
using do it every way too much.
where it's also a very old system. However, it works out to about $400 a year, which is not that different from the annual maintenance. It depends if you're full-time or part-time.
Right.
Yeah, I think you also need to consider that you may need to apply for permits, you may need a survey, you're gonna have to do landscaping because your yard's gonna be destroyed, or your driveway, depending, if you're near the water, the septic used to be on the water side, but now you have to be at the front of the house. Some people don't have the room for it, so then you kind of do it, you're stuck. So there are a lot of other things that everybody has to take into account. It's not just, I'm just gonna put this system, there are a lot of other costs involved.
And I do want to say, it may eventually just be a requirement for everybody. That could be in the future, and without a grant. So we're telling people, do it now while we have this grant. There are other states where they were just required to do it. So that's just one thought. Yes?
I know that there's grant money available right now. How would, if everybody in Southold applies for a grant? I mean, how much money is there, or could the fund run out?
It's not gonna run out, especially now that we got this increase with the tax incentives, so I don't see that happening. No one's even considering that, like it's not gonna run out. It's we have the state and the county grant are both also being increased, so
My only other thought was, in response to some of the questions that have been asked, at some point when more of these are done, I think it'd be super helpful on your website to say here are 3 families, you don't have to give their names, like example 1, the engineer cost him this much, it took this long, you know what I mean? And so if that was available and they used this system, and this is how they found the engineer, or whatever, just sort of walk through a couple of examples, and I think that would help a lot.
and I'm definitely gonna be writing down these questions about how much is the engineering cost and stuff like that, so I can find it out and include it in my future presentations. Definitely for sure. I appreciate all the questions.
What was your email again? It was on the slide.
Sure, yeah, I also have my card outside if anyone
Her
wants to
business
grab
cards are on the table as you leave. Yeah.
Pull it back up.
Yeah, I have 2
Okay,
questions.
sorry, and then we'll go to you, yeah.
One is there any consideration for seniors? And 2, I still don't understand where the first question was about the 1/3, 2,600 out of 6,000 something were approved. Why weren't the others approved? Do you have any idea?
Oh, it's not that they weren't approved, it's that they probably didn't apply, or they were new construction, or something along those lines.
Yeah. So I think since the.
And the senior question, is there any?
No, there's not anything particularly for seniors, but for people who are low middle income, which I believe is a very high, it goes, higher than you would think to be considered low middle income. That's another thing I've been going to find out. And right now, all the questions from everybody, from all these presentations, I'm trying to get all the answers to include them. But that was another question of what makes you considered low middle income, and the approximate number I got was pretty high, so, and then you can get additional funding. Yes.
Oh yeah, no, it's tagging on to what you said, it would be great if there was a little story on Kenny's Beach or McCabe's or Founder's Landing Beach, those water adjacent public restrooms. It would be nice to know there's kind of community leadership in this too, as opposed to just private owners,
That is something, that has been in discussion with different towns and different organizations in the county of possibly trying to get more.
Thank you.
A grant for non-homeowners.
Or just a little bit of community participation, see what towns especially if they're on the water, it's like.
That's a great point.
Ground zero for what we're trying to abate here and help them, so.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. Great, thank you. Yes?
Question, so, like my current system and most of our current systems have been okay for 50 years, 100 years. What's the failure, how long has the system been around and what's its failure rate?
That's also a great question. I'm not sure the answer to that one either. So how old is the system when they usually fail? That's a really great question. I will view all these questions also. If you want a direct answer that I don't have right now, please email me and I will get that answer for you. I'm really in touch with Julia from Suffolk County Department of Health. She's really been helpful to me.
Is it a point of failure or is it the age of the system?
So it's both. The aging system leads to a failure and often a catastrophic failure, but it also, in general, filter the things properly. Yes.
These systems require electricity to run, right? So if you need an upgrade to your panel, or how much, in your experience, is it adding? People have to put in more into their panel. Is that covered?
So you mean like the monthly electricity costs, or are you?
Well, that too, but do you find that by just installing it, it would mean that the homeowners have to increase their panel
Well, you will need
capacity? Yes.
Additional panels on the side of your house with all your utility systems. There will be something installed there.
But does it? Go ahead, you wanna talk about that?
No, it also needs electrical power to work.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a generator and the power goes out, it stops working.
It will continue to work for a significant amount of time. If your power goes out for, several weeks, that might be an issue, but it will stay continually running for a significant amount of time if your power goes out.
It has a battery.
It has a
I don't think so.
I don't think
The way the cyber continuity recommended to get a generator. How would it do that?
Yes.
Have you surveyed the 6,500 people who have had their system in, and do you have any feedback on what's working and what's not working with the system?
Most people have not been having an issue. I don't know if we've surveyed every single one of them,
No, I'm just wondering.
but
Zero consumers reports for the system.
Well, yeah, it seems like there are a lot out there. I just
I know
wanna
that they do water quality monitoring. They're testing the water quality at each maintenance, so that they know that they're working properly. As far as homeowner satisfaction, I'm not sure about that, but that'd be interesting as well. Yeah, as well as the stories someone mentioned. Yes.
Is there a side-by-side comparison of all the systems to make it easier for a homeowner to choose one from the other based on warranty, energy usage, difficulty to change parts, whatever?
I know that there's.
The homeowner has a choice which system he wants. To make a good choice, you need some information.
Yeah,
Is
that would also be really smart to include. I know that they have how much nitrogen they tend to filter, and they have a graph of that. But yeah, that would also be a really great idea to have more information about the different systems.
Is there a side-by-side comparison of the systems?
Comparison as far as how much waste they
No,
filter?
not how efficient, how efficient they are. What do they cost to run?
Cost, yes.
What do they cost to run over the long term? Every year, 2 years, you have to change this filter, that filter.
So I don't believe that they have a comparison chart with all that, but that would be a great idea, something I can definitely look into and pitch,
Okay.
for sure.
Please join me in thanking you.
Thank you.
I want to say to the audience, also very round of applause. These places are excellent, and everybody is thinking about which is so hard about how to install it.
Thank you all for coming. I wrote down as many of the questions as I could. I know Rachel was too. You can email them to Rachel directly, or you can email them to us. And we're gonna try and get some answers, and that's the beauty of Civic, right? So that this could be a new thing to work on. So if anyone wants to help us. Thank you so much. We'll figure things out. Thank you so much for coming. Right now, there was questions. Any other?